Hey guys, it's Underdog Performance Horses here, Heather Herring, and today we are doing something different. This is a book review, and I don't expect this to be crazy popular or anything, but I think it's important to talk about books and how it can further your education as you continue to learn, especially if you are learning to ride or you would like to work in the field of horses. And today's book, and I would love to do more if this would interest anyone, as I have a couple other ones that I read that I would love to talk about. I'm hoping these are pretty short videos, but I do tend to ramble. But today we are talking about elements of farrier science, and of course it's going to mirror. But this is written by D.M. Canfield, farrier instructor with Agri Services Foundation, Inc., and Middle Tennessee State University, and this is the second edition. Um, this is an older book, so I'm trying to copyright 1968 by D.M. Canfield. So this is from the 1960s, so it is an older book. But this guy is an instructor. He is an older farrier. He had been doing this for years, so he's super knowledgeable in farrier sciences. I give this book 5 stars. The only negative setback I will say is there are like hundreds of typos and misspellings and poor grammar in this book, which, you know, he's a farrier. Is it rude if I say that sometimes they can't spell? Which I am a farrier, so obviously that is stereotyping, but pretty much it's not bad. It's not bad at all. I can still figure out what they were trying to say, for the most part. And they get the important stuff correct. So this book is super informational. It is hard to find, and I recommend you get a used copy. But I got mine on Amazon for like $30, I'm gonna guess. And, you know, it is easy to bend, but beside the point, there is a lot of stuff in here about proper movement of horses, because the thing with farrier science is we are the experts from the knee down or the hock down. So we have to know the anatomy of the horse. So there is a lot of anatomy stuff in here and a lot of movement stuff in here, and it is also recognizing the fact that we have to know our breeds. So for instance, the last few pages are talking about how you would shoe and trim based on the type of horse. So we have the Tennessee walking horse, which also delves into the history of the Tennessee walking horse and why we shoe them like a trotter, even though they are a walker. That'll make more sense if you read the book. And how to shoe a pacer versus shoeing a trotter if you are shoeing like a standard bred or a saddle bred, which can be fine harness and parade, 3-gated or 5-gated. Information on pads, because you will use pads a lot with like Morgans, Arabians, and high-stepping horses use pads. So there's a lot of information. And also how to correct things, such as run forward heels with certain breeds. Let me trying to find the anatomy section, which is at the front. But you will have everything broken down with the cannon bone, the split bone, the long pasture bone, the sesamoid bones, the short pasture bone, the coffin bone, navicular bone, phalanges, fetlock joint, the tendons, flexor versus extensor tendons. You will get a handful, I should say, of diagrams, and some I bothered to label, others I didn't, because there is a lot of information just in the diagrams alone. I do heavily recommend, if you do get this book, to highlight and label, because there is so much information in here. But it really goes into, you know, horny structures versus sensitive structures, things like that. You will get, you know, what angles you're looking for. Like if you have a pleasure horse where you want a long and low stride with, you know, your pleasure quarter horses, then you want a higher heel, because that's going to get that long and low. So that's why when you go to like Quarter Horse Congress and you're looking at these pleasure horses and their heel is long, because they're looking for that long and low stride. Then if you look at your Arabians and your Morgans, and they just chop that heel off a lot of the time, which you have to be careful with, because then you're looking at what is your pastern angle now. Is it too much pressure on the horse's foot? But a lot of times Morgans and high stepping horses will have a low heel so that they get that high stepping motion, if that makes sense. And then you're going to go into your tools, how you should be holding your tools, how to use your tools, how to shoe a horse, a little bit on how to forge. There's a little bit of forging stuff in here. Different issues like how would you shoe a foundered horse? How would you shoe a navicular horse? Corrective shoeing. The conformation differences, which you will see if you get your certification through BWFA. A lot of the diagrams that are on your test are in this book with even bigger explanations. Let me see if I can find this one is everywhere. And this is a big diagram that's used in here. You know, you have your normal, your base wide, your base narrow, your toe out, your toed in. Let me see if the other one is on the other side. Hind end issues like cow hocked, sickle hocked, too straight, hock behind, buck kneed, calf kneed, obviously not back in the front and focusing on the knees. Different conformation issues and how you would correct them if you're able to correct them, or if you should just leave it natural and just do some minor corrections, like with shoeing, which is not minor, but you get what I mean. You would use shoeing, like if you have a toed out horse, you would take more off. If you have a toed out horse, take more off the outside to try and bring that foot in. If that makes sense. You're overreaching, you're forging, that's in here. Everything you need to know about farrier science is pretty much in this book. You know, also going into like if you want to work on the racetrack, they talk about bowed tendons, knee injury, like different unsoundness issues, and lameness issues that might affect a racehorse, and you know why, you know, what do you do with that? I'm not going to spoil too much of the book. You have to buy it yourself. There is, this is one I found interesting, with the frog support in the shoe. Was shoeing? Oh yeah, which is for the contracted feet. So the anchor or the T-shaped shoe for some frog support. Also going into movement, which I was super interested in. You know, how does the horse walk? How does the horse trot? How does the horse pace? How does the horse canter? How does the horse gallop? It has diagrams for all of that in here. And then, of course, my favorite, a list of references so I can get some more books, which I have not looked at these yet, but I am going to, because I'm super interested in some of these books that are listed. So, and as you can tell, I did a lot of notes in mine. I think it's super important to get a lot of notes, but that is the basis of everything you're going to find in this book. If you are looking into farrier science, or you want to understand how the horse's feet work, or how the horse works from the lower limbs, everything's going to be in here. And for the most part, it's fairly easy to understand. Obviously, I went to farrier school, so it's automatically easier for me to understand because I learned all this stuff at school. But I wouldn't say it's too hard to understand. You just might have to Google certain terminology, if you are just getting into farrier science. I do highly recommend this book, though. I got mine on Amazon. There's probably some on eBay. It's a very good book if you're looking to learn about farrier science, because everything that's going to be on any test, maybe, I don't know about AFA tests, because I know the AFA tests have a lot to deal with, like, forging work, and there's very minimal in here. It covers everything, but at a basic level for forging. But, like, my BWFA test, everything was already in here. So you're going to get a lot of information in this book for preparing for your test, furthering your education. All of that is in here. So I heavily recommend this book. I don't see a lot of people ever talking about this book, and so that's a big reason I want to start the series, because this book is pretty, not really unheard of. A lot of people have this book, but if you're looking at the horse owner perspective, you see a lot more of like this one. I see all the time, which is also a good book. I'm about to start. This is probably the one I'm going to start next. I'm going to look at all my other ones and decide which farrier book I want to read next. But I'd say this one is going to cover everything. Everything. So that's why I really like this book. This was the first farrier book I read, so I'm really glad that I started with this one, because I actually bought a couple ones before that, but I said, nope, we're going to start with this one. And this pretty much gave me a really good foundation, both going into farrier school and coming out of farrier school, because I finally finished it. It took me about 4 months, just because I've been so busy, booking clients with massage and farrier work. But luckily I was able to finish it finally, and like I said, there is so much information in here that is going to be so important to understanding what's in here if you would like to have a successful business. Obviously, working hands-on is the most important thing, but I think books are also so important to furthering that education. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, and I hope you check out this book, and I hope you enjoy it. You can find me on Facebook. Everything will be linked below. If you're interested in setting up an appointment, I work in the southeastern Michigan area, but I travel to Ohio. I travel up north. Try to stay within 3 hours of Belleville, Michigan, but I am open to, as long as I hit a certain amount of horses, to traveling, further. So, yeah, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys.